Good evening and greetings to all the beautiful souls on this land and soil, Southern Africa. We welcome you to the Gift of Truth and to the Southern Africa Jural Assembly and General Assembly's education sessions. As always, we thank you so much for spending your time with us and choosing to gain knowledge, because knowledge is power, and as we all know, the gift of truth is setting us free. The date today is Tuesday, the 18th of February, 2025, and the topic being presented and discussed is the correct road to sovereignty. Presenting this evening is Brother Thomas, who is without any doubt Southern Africa's most eminent and knowledgeable common law educator and expert. After BT has presented the introduction and the session, we will certainly open up the floor to questions and answers. We ask everybody to please keep your microphones on mute and your video cameras switched off. And before we proceed, we will just read in our disclaimer. As we step into living in private as men and women in the land jurisdiction, we comprehend that there should be no disclaimer, as each and every interpretation of everything that we experience as living souls is unique. The responsibility is our own as to how we use educational material such as this. You have enough wisdom to follow your own course. The choice is yours and yours alone. So with that out of the way, we would like to hand across the floor to Brother Thomas. We ask everybody please to be graceful in your communications this evening, and we appreciate so much the opportunity of gathering as men and women together on this land and soil to be able to gain more knowledge and move forward with love, kindness, and integrity. Thank you, BT. The floor is yours.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. Much appreciated. Yeah, there's nothing eminent about BT, Brother Thomas. I'm just a hobo that can read or write. You know, we are all here because of the one question, and the question is government based on the will of the people? And the answer is no. Government is not based on the will of the people. And we, you know, we forget. We've forgotten all the things. We forgot the roads of freedom that was paved through the anti-apartheid activists and those who struggled, who were part of the freedom struggle and the defiance campaign, right? So we are back to 1954 with the defiance campaign, and from the defiance campaign there was the Freedom Charter, and the Freedom Charter said in the preamble, no government can claim authority unless it is based on the will of the people. So it doesn't matter what kind of government it is, it must be based on the will of the people. And then leading up to 1994, we had the UDF, the United Democratic Front, which was made up of thousands of organizations from civil society, and it was an unregistered movement. It wasn't registered. That's important. We'll get back to this whole story of registration. And both those documents said the people shall govern. Now, in 1994, for 4 years, these organizations were also involved in discussing and putting down on paper their vision for the new South Africa. And to summarize it up, the Reconstruction and Development Policy Framework of 1990 to 1994, it's 108 pages. but I've summarized down to, I think, 10 or 11 pages, the key things. Now, the key things was we didn't want a representative government. We wanted direct participation. Now, how can the people participate directly in government? Number one, community courts. So if under the common law, we had a jury system. So the people are the judges. And whatever unanimous agreement the people make, that had to be enforced. So that put the power of lawmaking back into the hands of the people, where it was in the first place, under customary law and under the people's common law. Not the crown common law. When I talk about the common law, I'm not talking about the crown or colonial. I'm talking about the people. The common law simply means the moral sentiment of the community. Doesn't matter who the community is. And that can be decided, or that we can determine either by having polls or referendums, or trial by jury. So the other thing was referendums. We're supposed to have referendums, people's referendums. But if you look in the Constitution, because we were fast asleep leading up to 94, they pulled the wool over our eyes. And if you look in the Constitution, it's only the president or the premier of a province that can hold referendums. But the people were excluded from holding referendums. Even though we discussed it, we put it down on paper and we all agreed upon that, or those groups that were involved. And then oversight committees. If a people's court found, reasonable doubts that a government department was not doing their job, then we could institute an oversight committee and take action, get experts together to go and investigate and report on it. So, and then of course, people's banks, community banks. Now, the banking system and the legal system lie at the very root of this evil new world order that has turned us from sovereigns and creditors and owners into debt slaves. We're right back where we started. But leading up to 94, there weren't enough people schooled in the common law, and not enough people paid attention, and we handed over the reins to these criminals who were groomed by the New World Order in their universities such as Oxford and Cambridge and Atlanta, Georgia, and Tuskegee Institute and wherever else, so that when we'd won the battle, then they would make sure that their masters get preference to us. So this all comes from the last 500 years, basically. It was the late Professor Saint-Peter Blanche. He wrote 2 or 3 books. The one was Western Empires, and he said, in order to understand the problems of today, we need to understand the last 500 years of empire building with the complicity of the rest of the world. So if you look at South Africa, we basically had the law of the sea coming onto the land unlawfully and even illegally according to their own rules, and through fraud and legalese and all kinds of other lies and deceptions, they brought the law of the sea onto the land and basically subjugated, made customary law and common law second-hand laws through force and fraud. You can read about that. Everything that I'm telling you is on giftoftruth.wordpress.com. If Michelle or somebody can just type in the website link, and then there's a few documents on the manuals page, such as Volksverraad, which in English is called sellout, but it should be folk treason. And it's about the history behind the history of South Africa, how the Freemasons basically, the Dutch Freemasons, the Irish, the Scottish, the English, how they colluded to form fraudulently the Union of South Africa and consolidate South Africa for the Illuminati, Milner, Rhodes, the Round Table Group, using Lord Milner's kindergarten, and also involving the ANC, African National Native Council, who became part of the cabal. And leading up to 94, the ANC, the National Party, F.W. de Klerk, Tutu, they all colluded. And they sold us down the river, as Ronnie Cassells wrote in his book, Armed and Dangerous. Now, there's no statute of limitations on fraud. We can go back and we can rectify all of these frauds. But of course, we need to organize ourselves. And this way, this time, we're not going to use a gun. We're going to use a pen, because the pen is mightier than the sword. And we have proved it in some cases over the last 13 or 14 years. So there's actions that we took, and such as putting the Constitutional Court justices on trial 4 times. And the last time they said we need to get our own justices. So myself is busy training justices from different tribes, so we can hold a court and put the Constitutional Court justices on trial for protecting the corporations that are operating in South Africa to exploit the people. Now, the foundation of all of their law is based on the Bible, as well as our common law. You don't have to look at it from a religious perspective. You've just got to look at it from a law perspective. Our Creator, whoever you call your Creator, created us. And then when our societies got organized, we created government. So we are the creator of government, and government is the creators. And the sole purpose of government is to provide us with services. And the Constitution is a contract, a corporate services provider contract. But now that entity that we created now claims that it stands above us, when government is our hired help. They are our domestic workers or our administrators. That's all they are. They are just administrators. The Republic of South Africa is supposed to be a trust. And at different stages of our lives, when we are children, we are beneficiaries of that trust. When we're adults, we're trustees, because we are all doing something that is adding to the betterment of the trust. And then as elders and retirees, we are the donors. That's why we're supposed to get pensions and all of that. But what they've done is, since 1994, they created a corporate version of the Republic, and every single government, what we think of as a government department, are actually private for-profit companies. Now, a public entity, a trust, a Republic trust entity, a public of which we, the public, are shareholders of, because our ancestors and ourselves have helped develop the Republic. We're supposed to be the shareholders. And we're supposed to just pay what it costs to run the Republic. And then, of course, the dividends are supposed to be, the credits due to us are supposed to be allocated to us. Now, it does happen like that in partially. You have a trust, if you open your ID book and you see that all capitals name and the ID number, it's actually a trust name and account, and your banker is the Minister of Finance. He's known as, under international commercial law, he's known as the Secretary of the State. He's your banker. So you've got a trust account and number. It's held in the National Revenue Fund, and RSA Incorporated is trading on the stock markets and making all kinds of business. So there are credits due to you. But you don't get monthly reports on what your shares are or anything like that. So in 1994, so we are the priority, what's known in legalese, we are the priority claimants of the Republic. If the Republic goes bankrupt, then we've got first debts on its assets and accounts and all those things. But we didn't know this. So come 1994, the secondary claimants, like the cabal and all their cronies, they lay claims to our Republic assets, and they registered RSA Incorporated, and they fronted as the government. Meantime, they're a private company. Every government department is a private company. And since 1994, they've slowly privatized our public departments and our public assets without paying a cent to us, and none of us even blinked an eyelid. Just take, for example, we had the traffic department. Now just think about this. The traffic department has got land almost in every town and city and suburb. It's got buildings, it's got vehicles, it's got all kinds of equipment. And if you had to put that down on paper, it would be billions of rands. And then somewhere around 2006, whenever, a small group of people decided, hey, let's hijack the traffic department. So they registered a company, a private company, called the Road Traffic Management Corporation. So now, its priority is not providing you, the shareholder, with services and looking after your safety. It's now a private for-profit business. So now it turns you into a customer or a client. When you're not a client of a public entity, you're a shareholder. But they turn you into a client, and now their business is making money out of you and no longer providing you with services and security and safety and all of that. Same with the police. The police are now out to exploit us. So they drive around on the weekends and they've got to fill quotas because they've got to arrest X amount of people, get them into jail so that they have to pay bail, etc., etc. It's a money-making racket. Just look at in the national budget, you'll see how much profit the police are now making every year, when they're not supposed to make a single cent profit. And if they make a profit, it's supposed to come to us, the public. We are the public. We are the state. We are the church. We are the ecclesia. Not them. They're not a state. Government offices are in fact vacant. Our republic is vacant. So all we need to do is we need to educate ourselves, and then we need to start filling those different positions and start governing ourselves. And then when they challenge our authority or our jurisdiction or our claim over a piece of land or whatever, then we challenge their jurisdiction. And believe me, every single time we win. We had a chief last year who, out in the Eastern Cape, the town council arrived and wanted to charge him rent on a piece of land that he was using outside of the town and providing people with accommodation and so on. And then he challenged them in court and he said, look, only the landlord can issue a rental bill. And if you are the landlord indeed, then you must show us proof of title, which they couldn't do, and they had to withdraw the case. And you'll find this in every single situation. There's hardly a government department that myself hasn't made run, from the Reserve Bank right down to the Hawks, National Prosecuting Authority, courts, and so forth. So knowledge is power. Now, in order to understand this whole mess, you've got to understand that there are two jurisdictions. There's more jurisdictions, but we're only going to talk about the two basic ones, which is the law of the sea and the law of the land. Now, to get this settled in your mind and your head, the law of the sea, that's Satan's domain. Okay? If you look in the Bible, Satan was cast down into the sea, where the great Leviathan is and the serpent. So it's satanic. If you look at the courts, you'll see those are actually satanic temples, these bar-legal courts. That's why they wear black. And they invoke the devil in their courts. You'll find the devil's handbook. Just go to Gift of Truth and you look under BAR, B-A-R, which stands for British Accreditation Registry, which is where it all started in London. There you'll find all the necessary information and you'll see the devil's handbook there. In the South African Bar Association Code of Ethics and Conduct, they blatantly talk about when to invoke the devil and the devil's advocate. So that's how they bedevil you. The Bible says, with feigned words will they make merchandise out of you. So the law of the sea is basically for naval military, it's for corporations, it's for everything that's incorporated. Legal fictions. Now, a legal fiction is something that doesn't occupy space in reality. If I tell you the Republic of South Africa, you can't show me the Republic of South Africa. You can maybe point to the Constitution or the flag, but that's still not the Republic of South Africa. It only exists in our minds. Whereas the law of the land deals with reality. Everything that you can see or touch is actually under the law of the land. But through false words, they've turned everything into corporate legal fiction entities. Now, this is the most important ruling to remember if you go down this path. In 1795, the Supreme Court, the US Supreme Court, in their annotations, they wrote, inasmuch as every government is a legal fiction, an abstraction, and a creature of the mind only, having no parity with the tangible, the legal manifestation of this is that no court, government, law, aspect, agency, etc., can concern itself with anything other than contracts between corporate legal fiction entities. They don't have jurisdiction over reality. They pull the wool over your eyes because they don't exist in reality. So what they do is, through deceit and lies, when you walk into a court, what you don't know is they're actually talking to your legal fiction person, also known as a straw man, your ID. Look at your ID. It's your name in all capital letters. It's a photo of your head. It's a person, but that's not you. That's your legal personality. It's like your little piece on the Monopoly board. When you play Monopoly, that little piece on the board is your person. But you are not a person, you're a people. But through their full school indoctrination system, they repeatedly get you to call yourself a person, so that the day they need to trap you in a court or on the roadsides through a traffic cop or policeman or whatever, you consent to being treated as a corporate entity. And a corporate entity doesn't have any rights because it doesn't exist in reality. And then they force you to your little private business, they force you to register your little private business as a company, because then you are in the law of the sea. If you just trade it as whatever you call yourself and you don't register it, then you still have your rights, because you're a living man or woman and you're trading as Joe's Barbershop or whatever it is. You don't have to do any of those things. What's actually supposed to happen, there's supposed to be a separation between private people and, corporate entities, companies, big businesses, and so forth. But now they've grayed the boundaries of jurisdiction, and they've mixed the law of the sea with the law of the land, and they've subjected the law of the lands to second class. And this is how they get away with all their criminality, is because they fool us with all their fancy words, which sound like English, but it's actually legalese. So if you want to understand all of this, you go and look at a dictionary and look at the definition of the words. Don't get yourself too caught up in the splitting hairs part of it. But there are a few key things that are very, very important. Over the last couple of days, a few things came up. Now, federal, for example. I know Anna von Reitz talks about the American Federal Republic and all of that, but those kind of words I avoid. Because when I went to Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, and you look under federal, in one of the definitions, you'll see a federal system is ruled by an emperor. Now, who's the emperor of the federal commercial system? Well, that's the Pope. The Vatican. They're sitting at the top of this New World Order dung heap. And directly below them is the Illuminati and the banksters and the legal system. And then we, the sheeple, are at the bottom. Another word is publish. Somebody said, no, we need to publish things. No, you're not publishing things. A newspaper gets printed, it doesn't get published. Published is another one of those legalese words. In fact, if you go and look at the definition in Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, it says to declare something which is fraudulent as the truth. And this is what they do. they continually, every single act and statute is fraudulent because it's employing legalese and it's not telling you the truth. When in actual fact, the original purpose of law is always to first establish the truth. Without the truth, you can't have a case. They call it the sine qua non of a case, that without which not. So, but it's all a lie because it's a satanic system and it's run by the father of lies and deceit. So everything's been turned upside down and inside out. Now, sovereignty is, to keep it simple, always remember, sovereignty is unincorporated. Unincorporated. We had UDF number 2. So over the last 14 years, I've had meetings with the old guard from the original UDF. You know, Terra Lakota, Frank Chicani, and those brothers. We sat in the meetings with United Front, and I told them, you guys need to check each other's bank accounts because there's 1 or 2 of you that are being paid by the cabal to lead everybody astray. And the first thing they do is they go and register that entity. Now listen very carefully. If you register an activist group as a PTY Limited, which 1 or 2 of these groups have done, like I can't remember his name now, but the guy who registered about 8 years ago, he restarted the UDF, and then he went and registered the UDF. Now, when you've registered, then all your members are subject to the Companies Act, which is the law of the sea. Then you don't have rights. Can you see what I'm saying? You can't use that to free yourself because you have now enslaved yourselves back into the colonial system again. But the reason why these people are registering the companies is because they are trying to sit in a position of power. When you are going down of this road, this path, you are working for the people. There'll be no more government. It'll only be servantment. If you want to serve the people, then you must give up your rights. You step down, you don't step up, you step down below the people. And you give up some of your rights, such as your right to privacy. Your bank accounts must be transparent, so we can see who you're canoodling with. Because I can promise you, I've looked at all the South African groups. 9 out of 10 of them are corrupt. They're working for the cabal, and there's many cabals. There's an Afrikaner cabal, there's Stellenbosch cabal, there's British cabal, there's the Vatican cabal, there's Washington, and you name it. 9 out of 10 of these South African groups claim to want to save the people but they are actually there as disinformation agents, agent provocateurs. This happened during the apartheid era, and it's still the same system. Nothing has changed. It's the same banking system. It's the same system of government. It's the same legal system. And they still have the same masters that they are working for. It's just the front men, the guys, the teller in the front. Yeah, he's changed color and he might have changed uniform, but it's still the same mafia he's working for that are calling the shots. So this is not about uniting everybody. That's where we made the mistake in 1994. Because people weren't checking each other and doing background checks on each other, different groups, and making sure that everyone's making the right steps. That the cabal came into the UDF and they shanghaied it right under our noses. Because some of us were just too gentle, too naive, too kind to know that there are wolves amongst us. The Bible clearly says, beware of false prophets that come to you in sheep's clothing, but inside they are ravening wolves. I've seen them from the beginning. From the beginning, and I've blown the whistle on them. From the beginning. You know, this has been 14 years already. I've seen it all. I've seen what they do in these Zoom talks, everything. There's nothing you can teach me about being on this path. I've spent 50, 60,000 hours studying all of this stuff to be able to explain it to the people on the ground. So we got to go back. We got to revisit the RDP. We got to revisit the Freedom Charter. We got to make sure that those things become enforceable. This is why we're going to Constitutional Hill. If we get them to stamp an order from our court stating that the orders of people's courts are enforceable, that's half our battle won. And the power of banking, restoring the power of banking to the people, then we have won. Once the power of banking and the power of lawmaking is in your hands, you win. Doesn't matter which system is in charge, because we'll be able to sort them out. We'll be able to set up oversight committees and get experts from our public to go and investigate SARS or the Treasury or the President, because he's not our president. He's the CEO of a corporation. That's what a president is. A president is a CEO of a corporation. And he's hijacked our SANDF. He's the commander-in-chief. So our SANDF are private mercenaries because they are incorporated. They're a corporation. They are protecting a corporation, not us, the people. When the United Nations wanted to take over South Africa during the COVID operations, where the jab was a bullet, we sent out notices to them, and we said to them, this is a declaration of war. And under the law of necessity for self-preservation, we have the right to defend ourselves against you. So if you take any further action in South Africa, we have the right to take up arms, to confiscate your vehicles, and to use it in our self-defense. And we went to the head of the SANDF and we said to him, we want to know, we're drawing a line in the sand. We want to know who's our enemies in this matter and who are our friends. So we want to know if we have to defend ourselves, where are you going to be standing? Are you going to be defending the United Nations or your people? And they were very embarrassed. They were hiding. They ran away. We went to the army. We went to the SAPS. And we told them, it's an act of war. And we have the right to bear arms. So you can turn the whole thing around. If you just use your common sense, you can turn the whole thing around, that instead of them calling you a terrorist, because we are doing what they're supposed to have done, which is protect South Africa and its people. That's their job, to serve and protect. The SAPS, read the Code of Ethics and Conduct. I've used that Code of Ethics and Conduct many times when they've been abusing the public. You know? So, knowledge is power. And the decree of the sovereign makes the law, which is you. Now, you get a sovereign state and you get sovereign people. We are sovereign people. A sovereign state is Kabbalistic. We're sitting with a Kabbalistic constitution, which in the preamble declares South Africa as a sovereign state. And that implies that the state takes priority over its people. When the Namibian constitution, in there, it clearly states our people are sovereign, not the state. But we don't pay attention to the constitution because it doesn't apply to us. The Bill of Rights is supposed to be the supreme law of the land, not the constitution. They put the Bill of Rights into, the Bill of Rights is supposed to stand unpublished, unincorporated on the land. It's supposed to be a separate document, like the Freedom Charter, a separate document, and it's supposed to be enshrining our rights. And anything that is contrary to the Bill of Rights is unlawful, illegal, and therefore it's null and void. But they slipped it into they changed it from the law of the land to the law of the sea. They slipped it into the constitution, and now they can say unconstitutional, meaning it's referring to their constitution. But their constitution is only a contract to provide services, and who are providing those services, that's all. And it doesn't apply to us. We're not subject to the constitution because it's a contract between corporate entities, and we are not party to the constitution. The Bill of Rights is supposed to start with we the people, and the constitution, a separate document, is supposed to start with we the representatives. But that's how they canoodled us again. They've deceived us around every single corner. They've turned us from creditors into debtors, debt slaves, when we're supposed to be the richest people in the world, because they have stolen trillions and trillions and trillions from us. So, if you don't believe me, then go and read annavonrights.com. I continually tell the SA General Assembly, if you have a question, first go there and check what she says before you come to me. But then they still run to me because they're too lazy to go and do their homework. Sometimes, not always, just sometimes. So Anna writes, she's the most knowledgeable in the whole world when it comes to jurisdiction and how this whole system works. And America did at one stage have its own common law system before it was hijacked again. They had a common law system running for over 100 years. It was hijacked and turned into a federal, commercial federal system. So be careful of using those legal words. Stick to plain English. And if you want to be a servant of the people, and you truly wish to be the change, then you first got to look inside. Go sit in front of a mirror. Put your ego aside, because a lot of people come on this path and their egos are large and very destructive. You know, you're not doing this for glory. You're doing this to help others. Whatever you start doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the people. So you can't go and claim ownership of it, not a website or anything like that. Gift of Truth is a Jural Assembly, nothing is incorporated. It's just, it's carried by those who are following the vision and sticking to the correct path. The Bible says, straight is the gate and narrow is the way, and few there be that shall go therein. Of the 100 people sitting here, there's only maybe five that will go down the right path through the straight and narrow gate. And the rest will, somebody said to me earlier, oh, this one group won't attend tonight because they don't like people talking against secession. Now that automatically tells me that whoever's saying those words has got an agenda. Because I want the people to know everything. If there's dirty laundry, I'll find it and I'll pull it out and I'll hang it out in open public. Luke 11 says, whatever that was said in secret chambers will be proclaimed from the rooftops. And BT's been proclaiming it from the rooftops. If you're getting funding from any of these cabal foundations or anything like that, then you're definitely on the wrong path. That's why BT is so poor, because I'm on the right path. So, yeah, in South Africa, most of the groups, they're completely off track. So now just think about this when it comes to secession. Our actual republic, the trust, and our actual government is vacant. If you go onto Dun & Bradstreet, dnb.com, and you look at, type in any of our government departments there, whatever comes up, you'll see it's listed as a private company. It's supposed to be a public company. And then if it's a public company, it belongs to us. If it's a private company, it's belonging to a small group of people. And their job is to make profit off of us. Those are two completely opposite types of entities. So our government is vacant. We are the government. So you don't have to secede from a company. You can't secede from a company. Imagine you own a house and you go on holiday for a week or two and you come back and now McDonald's has put a sign outside your house, you know, saying, this is McDonald's property. You don't have to now go and deregister yourself from McDonald's or anything like that, because it doesn't belong to McDonald's and you can prove that you are the owner. Simple. You know. So there's no need for secession. Number two, every single tribe will declare their own state and start on the path to direct self-governance. No middlemen. No lawyers. It's the same as registering your business. You can't, if you involve members of the bar in your activities, then you are subject to the crown, and you are working for the crown under the law of the sea. Just like the South African bar. If you read in their code of ethics and conduct, it says clearly seniority, they are ranked according to letters given by the Queen. So now think about this. The Chief Justice of the Constitutional Court of the Republic of South Africa, he gets his authority from the Queen, from the Crown. So who's he working for? He's working for the Crown. And what's he doing for the Crown? He's taking care of the Crown's assets here, and the Crown's land, and the Crown's property. We are still a Crown dependency people. We've never declared independence. There's no declaration of independence. We've been bundled back into the so-called Crown's Commonwealth. So we're now the common property of the Crown. And these things have to be straightened out. We have to separate the law of the sea and the law of the land. And we have to build an alternative system. That one's fraught. You can't touch the system. And politics. Politics was created by the same colonial cabal to keep us arguing about things of no importance while they rob us behind our backs. So complete decolonization. We are non-political, just like the UDF. The UDF was a non-political movement. We are not interested in politics. We are only interested in rights and restoring the order of things, the natural order of things, our creator, us below it, and everybody else, government, courts, whoever, you name it, are below us. So go and read on Gift of Truth. There's a page called What is Law? If you go down it, you'll see there's in red, there's a PDF you can download, which is the law of the land versus the law of the sea. I put it nicely on paper. The words that you would use in the sea as opposed to what we would use in common language. And then there's a document called Sovereignty. Now there's another ruling also from the US Supreme Court, which states sovereignty itself is not subject to law because it is the author and the source of law. And while certain powers are delegated to agencies of government, sovereignty remains with the people for whom the government exists and acts. Think about it carefully. We can exist without a government, but a government cannot exist without us. Its sole purpose for being there is to serve and protect us. That's it. And when it's no longer serving and protecting us, when it's no longer securing our life, our freedom, and our happiness, then it is our right to abolish it and to change it and to put a better system in place. And this is what we're doing. We are not being opposed by government. We're not being opposed by the courts. Do you know who's opposing us? Are the puppets, are the ravenous wolves amongst us who try and hijack our systems, who try and divide us. Just like what happened during the Defiance campaign and the apartheid era. Yeah, we've had people come in and do their utmost to destroy our good work. Now, after 3 years, there's members of the SA General Assembly, their eyes are now opening. I've seen 14 years of this. When I warned them about people, they didn't believe me. They told me, no, BT, you're negative, BT this, BT that. But I warned them that that one is going to bring you down. So I had to turn my back on them and watch them almost get destroyed. Thankfully, there's now a good core group. There's still one or two ravenous wolves skirting around the edges, but at least they're not in the center of it all now. So, if you want to serve your people, myself had to write a code of ethics and conduct, rules of behavior, and teach good morals, ethics, principles, and values again. Because we've lost our moral compasses. We are not living the way that our grandmothers and our grandfathers taught us. Doesn't matter if we're black or white or colored or whatever. Our moral compasses are down the toilet. The Justice Louis Brandeis in 1954, he said, if a government becomes a lawbreaker, it breeds contempt for the law, it invites everyone to be a law unto themselves, and it invites chaos and anarchy. So the next time you cut a corner and you don't listen to that inner voice inside, then think about that you are partly responsible for why things are falling apart around you, why society is falling apart, why crime is increasing, while there's our courts have turned criminal, our whole system has turned criminal. And now, because we see them doing criminal things, then we think, oh, well, if they can do it, I'm also going to do it, because if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it in any case. So I might as well just do it. And we're all doing it for material reasons. But if you don't have principles, if you don't have good morals, good values on this path, you will quickly fall by the wayside. People will catch you out. You'll be exposed. Believe me. Quickly, quickly, quickly. If your reason for being here is not right, you will be exposed. The truth will come out. That's for sure, especially on this path. So, I'm sorry I have to talk loud, and I'm sorry I have to talk hard, but this has been a long, hard, tough road, and thankless, mostly thankless. And yeah, I can't believe how in the swamp we've gotten. You know, I'm unlike the SA General Assembly. I don't have much hope. I don't have much hope that most of you are going to do the right thing. But that doesn't stop me from helping those few good ones that come my way. So just to end off, the correct path of sovereignty is to build your own alternative system, your own court system, your own systems of self-governance, and there's all the different aspects. So choose your passion, whatever it is. If it's education, if it's gardening, if it's the law, if it's banking, because we need to start the people's banking system. We need to, you can't fight the old, you know, it was Buckminster Fuller who said, in order to truly change things, you don't fight the old, you build a new model that makes the old model obsolete. That's all. So we must focus our energy on building an alternative, not fighting the old. Yes, we will block them in terms of jurisdiction and rights and so forth, but not fight them. You know, people like Michael Tellinger, Scott Kandel, and all of that, they've proved to us that there's no justice in the legal system. So why would anybody else go and try and do that again? You can't change that system from inside out. It's satanic. You might as well go to Satan and say, hey, Satan, please give me permission. I want to create a little piece of paradise in hell. You know, for those who are tired of your fire and brimstone, I want to create a little corner here and we want a little paradise. Will you give us permission? You know, that's about the extent of it. We have to truly build an alternative, unincorporated, speak common language, and have good morals, good ethics, and obey the laws of what Jesus laid down for us. You know, love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's very important. If we actually did that, the world would be a much better place and we wouldn't be sitting here tonight. And do unto others as you want them to do unto you. That's it. If you do those two things, the world would be marvelous. But everybody's trying to do everybody else in now. Most people are lying to each other and all kinds of bad things. So if we really want to see change outside, the change must start inside. And start with peace. Put that ego on a leash, come to peace. Still your mind, follow your heart, listen to your gut instinct. and don't give up. You know, myself gave up a couple of times on this journey, but thankfully, you know, if it wasn't for SA Jural Assembly, I wouldn't be here tonight. I would have already given up just because of all the negativity and all the bad experiences over the last 14 years. And there hasn't been many good experiences at all. You know, so that's about it in a nutshell. SA Jural Assemblies, they give classes. I think it's on Thursdays. And then myself will do advanced classes on a Saturday. Yeah, there's classes, and if you are from any particular tribe, if you're a tribal leader, a king or a chief, or anything like that, then we also give, myself gives classes in those regards. The future is going to be that the new South Africa in a republic. I mean, we are originally a republic, and in a republican form of government, every state is sovereign and independent and governs itself. But of course, we will share in the national wealth. But yeah, everyone will have a chance of living in a society of their choice. So there won't be any need for secession. And what will give us success is recognition. All of these states giving each other recognition that we recognize each other, but we don't recognize the current regime, RSA Incorporated, and that's how we can, even under international law, become the new government. It's happened to in a couple of countries already, like Syria is a good example, and there are others. So we're not going to split South Africa. You're not going to be able to split South Africa in any case. We'll treat it as one entity, unincorporated, a trust, and everyone are beneficiaries or trustees or donors of that trust, and every state gets a fair share per capita of the population, and they do with it as they deem fit. And of course, as long as it's according to the will of their people. So there will be things like referendums, and the referendums of the people will be enforceable. And yeah, there'll be assemblies and oversight committees and a system of direct participation where you can participate directly in your decision making of your state of choice. Right. This one was half an hour longer. Great.
Thank you, everybody. Brother Thomas, a last few words.
That's all. Thanks, Saka. I just want to thank all the people for attending. You know, I know I say things might step on people's toes. Don't take it personally. It's about, you know, learning the right way So just to add the other websites, if you have any questions, you want to know more about a topic, is annavonrights.com. Salka, if you can just type it in the chat box there. Also her website, you just type in the word or the phrase, and all the posts that she did come up there. For example, secession specifically, there's one that says secession from what? She says exactly the same as what myself said. So all that we do is very much in line with Anna von Reitz. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Thomas. Michelle?
Thank you so much to everybody. A very good night to all. Go out, all beautiful people, and have a lovely evening. Good night from all of us.
Good
Thanks,
night to
Michelle.
all.
Night,
Good night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good
Thanks,
Good
everybody.
night.
Good
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Night.
night. Thank you very much.